my name is Natalie. I am the spouse of an English person who was relocated from Boston to London for a 2-year work contract. And his company provided us with services through Saunders to help with the relocation and the move from, choosing neighborhoods and finding our home to helping us move our 3.5-year-old black Labrador so that her move was as seamless as possible. And thus far, it's been a great experience. So in order for us to find our home, we received a lot of information via email and internet on the various different neighborhoods of London, sort of describing what each of them might be like, the amenities and characteristics of the neighborhood. And again, because my husband is English, we had a little bit of an advantage of knowing some of the different neighborhoods, but what we were asked to do was choose 3 to 5, maybe 4 different neighborhoods that we wanted to explore in more detail, so that when we came over to do our pre-home finding trip, we would look around each of those 4 neighborhoods and spend a half day, getting a feel for what they had to offer, seeing the high street, the different kinds of housing options available in each, so that when we were ready to actually look for our specific home, we had a better sense of what neighborhood we wanted to focus on. Our move was scheduled to be in early May. We came over in February for a pre-home finding, and we had 2 days with a representative from Saunders who drove us around the 4 neighborhoods that we had selected to view. And, we drove through the high streets and around the neighborhoods. We got out and walked through some of them to just get a better feel for the characteristics and, what it might be like to be here on a regular basis. And in each of the 4 neighborhoods, we saw a selection of properties that would be available at that time. So not necessarily would be available when we were ready to move, but perhaps would. But just to get a sense of what the quality of housing stock was available in those specific neighborhoods within our designated, budget range. The settling in and assistance service was and continues to be great. It for us has been an ongoing process, and it started from the actual coordination of the move. I think on both sides, the packing of our home in Boston to the delivery of our goods here in London. It also included things like looking through the home and helping us develop a list of sort of items that needed to be addressed by the landlord. And they are continuing to provide ongoing support on things that need repair and any issues that might crop up between us and the landlord in terms of getting things done and helping to move any projects and issues forward. And they're incredibly responsive and very easy to work with, very friendly, and I think make what could be a frustrating process much more manageable for the tenants here. Saunders provided us with a contact to help us move our 3.5-year-old black lab from Boston to London, and they provided a pet specialist moving company who was great, because what they did is they guided us through the whole process to ensure that she wouldn't have to go into quarantine, and it's a pretty rigorous and strict time frame process in terms of what vaccinations need to be provided and all the paperwork and protocol that needs to be completed so that it's a smooth process. And they send someone to pick her up at our house in Boston. They're with her the whole way to the flight, and then within hours of my husband arriving here in London, she was delivered in perfect health and condition. Very happy to be reunited with us on the other side, but within hours of us being delivered to our home ourselves. So it was great. We did have contact with various different folks on the Saunders team, but the primary contact has been Anne Dinsdale, and she is a delight. She's, has a great sense of humor, is very responsive, and has made the process in certain points, which could be overwhelming and frustrating, really bearable and actually pleasurable. So I can honestly say that our whole transition has been pretty good. We do have ongoing support from Saunders, which is great, and actually on a couple of different levels. One of them is because I'm the spouse, they are offering assistance to help me find employment should I wish to. So there's sort of career counseling and that sort of option available. But in terms of ongoing support as well in dealing with any issues or problems that might arise, specifically, we've had interaction with them on the tenancy agreement and the relationship with the landlord. Our landlord no longer lives in the UK, so the communication and the process of dealing with any issues that creep up has been facilitated by Saunders. So things like repairs or questions of can we do this, can we do that. Saunders is the point person. Specifically, Anne has been the point person with the leasing agent and the landlord to try to move the process along and make it, again, as smooth and as seamless as possible, which has been helpful because it means we don't have to deal directly with the landlord who is living abroad. For anyone else who's contemplating a move or is being asked to move for a work situation, we moved from the suburbs of Boston into the city of London, and while we had some experience with London itself, certainly it's been a while since my husband's lived here, so having someone guide us through the process and point us in the right direction of what needed to be done, and providing all of the contact parties and people to help the move and the transition. If we were doing this on our own, it would have been incredibly overwhelming and frustrating. So many moving parts and pieces to organize, and having someone like Saunders to introduce us to those various different companies and folks, and to manage the process and help us understand that we've ticked all the boxes that we needed to tick, and have all of the completed paperwork and can do this as smoothly as possible was incredibly helpful. And if someone is considering that sort of move, I would highly recommend having a point person or a point company like Saunders to make that as smooth as possible.